Hello, Pontiac High School students. Today's lesson is lesson 3-2. We're going to try to get it all done in just one today because it's all centered around this House of Representatives that we're going to get into today. Let's begin by looking at our representatives. Every 2 years, that is once every term, hundreds of men and women try to convince American people that they should be elected to the House of Representatives. It happens every 2 years. It's not like the presidential elections where it's just once every 4. Every 2 years, in between that, there's another election. And these are for members of the House of Representatives. The winners of this become our representatives, become our members of the House in our federal government. Now, the size of the House of Representatives is fixed. It's set. There are 435 members in the House of Representatives. And the number of representatives is determined by a state's population. So here in Michigan, we get 14 representatives, I think that's right, 14 representatives in the House of Representatives based upon our state's population. So out of that 435, 14 are from Michigan because Michigan is kind of a middle-sized state in terms of population. Now, each state is guaranteed at least one. So ballpark, this works out to about one representative for every 700,000 people. But little itty-bitty Wyoming, with less than 500,000 people, they still get a representative, even though they haven't hit 700,000. Representatives must be reelected every 2 years. So they've got very short terms of office, but they can be reelected over and over and over again, so long as the people want them. But because they have to be elected every 2 years, they really have to pay attention to what the people want. And if a member of the House of Representatives were to change his mind on a couple of key issues, they would probably get voted out of office fairly quickly. That is within that 2-year spread of time. Now, it has not always been 435. The House of Representatives first had 65 representatives, but as the population grew, so did the number of representatives. They originally had this idea that there would be about one representative for every 30,000 people. But if we were to do that today, we would need whole new buildings to hold House of Representatives that had 5,000 plus people in it. So in 1929, Congress decided to stop this expansion. And with the membership at 435 at the time, it wouldn't get any larger than that. But as populations grew at an uneven rate, we would need to then determine how to choose which states got more people. So we use a census, a count of the American people, once every 10 years to guide the number of seats in each state. So each year we count the number of people and we reapportion those seats based upon that. Now, in congressional elections, except when we have a special election, and a special election would be like if somebody resigned from their position or if they died or if they were kicked out of office because they violated some law. Apart from that, we just have congressional elections once every 2 years. It's on a very specific day, and we'll get to the date of elections in just a moment. But when the election is held for Congress but not the president, we call that an off-year election. So we have presidential year elections and we have off-year elections. Off-year elections are usually less well attended. Now, since 1872, we've had a fixed date for elections for the entire country. Since that time, elections have been held on the Tuesday following the first Monday in November of each even-numbered year. The Tuesday following the first Monday in November of each even-numbered year. So it's always on a Tuesday, but it's never going to be the first day of the month. So in 2016, November 1st was a Tuesday. We didn't hold it on that day. We wanted everybody to get in the mindset of, oh, it's November, so we've got an election coming up. And if people didn't realize that and they missed election day, well, there goes our right to vote and our suffrage and popular sovereignty, and that's not a good thing. So it's always held between November 2nd and November 8th. Never earlier than the 2nd, never later than the 8th. Now, the districts. Each of our 435 congressional districts is what we call a single-member district. In a single-member district, there can only be one representative. You can't have two people. And that means that the election is winner take all. If you were to have, 3 people in that election, and one gets 35% and the other two get 32.5%, I think my math is there, I think that's right. You can't divide up the seat in any other way. The person who wins wins. And this has created a lot of competition over how those districts are created and over who they represent. I'll show you an example here of just my old state of Rhode Island, which just had 2 congressional districts, and it's divided kind of east of the Narragansett Bay and west of the Narragansett Bay. That's how they chose to divide that. Should really get a Michigan one up for you, but we'll have to save that for class. So those lines are really determined by the state. Now, sometimes a political party that controls the state, that is, a political party that gets to draw those district lines, will consider politics more than perhaps democracy when doing so. We call this a gerrymandered district, and it's named after, I think it was Elbridge Gerry, but certainly somebody early in politics who had helped draw state lines that were a little bit crooked. They do this for one of 2 reasons. One, to either concentrate opposition voters in one district. So if you can draw a line for a district that somehow packs a huge majority of your opponents into one district, well, then they're going to win that one district, but then that takes them out of other districts. The other reason would be to spread opposition voters across many districts. So sometimes you get these funny districts. Here is Illinois' 7th Congressional District. It doesn't look too funny. It certainly has these little lines that stick out, and you kind of wonder, why is this a part of that? And why is this line not a part of it? But this isn't the one that's heavily gerrymandered. If you want to see something that looks ridiculous, we want to see this one. This is Illinois' 4th Congressional District. It's like if you live on 294, a highway, you're in that district. They have to connect, though. They can't be 2 separate parts. So they drew it right along the highway. You have to actually live on the highway, which nobody does, to be in that district. But they wanted to lump together these folks and these folks into one congressional district for political reasons. It's kind of garbage, but people are allowed to do it, so they do. Our American democracy. All right. So, the only significant limitation on drawing these creative lines is that every district must have, as close as can reasonably be done, the same number of residents. That doesn't mean that it's perfect. Certainly there are, minor fluctuations, and they kind of allow fluctuations of, a few thousand people, but they do try to make sure that they're pretty close. But otherwise, you can draw some crazy lines. So who gets to be in the House? There are 3 legal requirements for members of the House. They're right in the Constitution. You have to be 25 years old, at least. You have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years. So that is, you can have moved from Canada and you can serve in the House of Representatives, but you have to have gotten your citizenship at least 7 years prior to that. And you must be a resident of the district that you're representing. So you can't represent Rhode Island and live in Michigan. It doesn't work that way. You have to be a resident of the district in which you are representing. So those are the formal ones. This doesn't really stop very many people from being in Congress. These ones do. These are your informal qualifications. These are what the voters are really going to look at and determine whether or not you can be their representatives. They include things like ethnicity, gender, political experience, name recognition, religion, and party identification. All of those things are considered, whether they should be or not, they are considered by the populace when they go to vote. Yeah. So this is what people consider. In our most recent presidential election, 2016, a lot of these came into a lot of consideration of voters on both sides of the presidential side, and they do for the members of the House as well. If you wanted to vote for me, here's my list of qualifications right there. I am 25 years old. Yay! I've been a citizen for all of my 36 years. Yay! I am a resident of our state. Yay! I have no political experience, and nobody except for you guys know my name. So I'm probably not going to get elected to the House, but who knows? Maybe I'll run anyway. We'll find out. All right, that's all for today. Today's lesson was 3-2 on the House of Representatives. Take your quiz and let's learn something. Thank you and farewell.